through November of the first Tuesday in November for the elections. Many people have their question marks, have their doubts, have their hopes up. Many people are waiting. Many people are building, and they want to know when they should lock their rate in. I have news for you guys. I'm going to take a look at the market with some numbers, and we're also going to look at it with opinions of things I feel and see. I talk to title companies each day. I talk to lenders each day. Maybe it's each week on these things where I'm getting a feel for how many loan applications are coming through, how many deals are coming through, what's happening on those deals. And I want to dive into all that. It's very interesting. I'm doing this every quarter now instead of every day. And as you guys know, that's a different pace than we've done. And so there's a little bit more to wrestle with, and we're going to dive into all of that. First, on that note of talking to title, I was talking to my title gal that I use for a lot of the transactions I do, and she was saying how a lot of deals are coming back and they're getting held up by the appraisal, a new perspective that we hadn't seen. In other words, they might be going under contract for one price, but the appraiser says, and he puts those back, kicks them back, and says, we gotta renegotiate, right? And that is how the contract works. Just so you know, if you're under contract and you think it's worth 800, buyer thinks, you and the other party think it's worth a certain price, and the appraiser comes back and says it's actually worth less. The verbiage in the contract says the seller must lower the price. However, if they don't want to do that, then they can renegotiate. So in other words, that's renegotiation time. That is how that works. I was talking to a lender today. I have a couple that I use pretty regularly. One of them was talking to him about the loan applications. That's something they track. I think it's something they actually are regulated by. And he was saying that they're down, but that doesn't paint the whole picture. It doesn't paint the whole picture at all, because loan applications it jumped and spiked in the May and June era. And so with that spike, they kind of predicted that it would go down in September. Also, historically, loan apps do go down in September. So that's a trend that was kind of expected. He said it was a little bit lower than what they expected, but all things said and done, they probably thought they're going to be here and might have ended up here, something like that. It's kind of what the impression I was under. So, is the market down? Is it going to crash? Is the market looking healthy? Questions that I would love to hear from you guys on. Guys, there's a few of you here already. Tell me where you're coming from. Tell me your questions. Most likely you're from another state. There are always a few locals you get on, but most of the time it's just fueled by the out-of-staters. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. I think we're even on Twitter and X and LinkedIn. Places we're at in all these places. So wherever you're at, tell me where you're joining from in terms of city and state, and drop your question, and I will be happy to get to that. So I want to dive into the numbers a little bit, but I also want to give an opinion that my brother-in-law in another state asked me how the market was. This is like Saturday. Believe it or not, this is a shocker, I'm sure. How's the market is the most common question I get from people. Do they really care about how the market is, or what are they really asking? They want to know how well protected their buy or sell will be, or has, or is in the past. And so they might be acting, or that asset in the future. So, for example, got asked that question yesterday from somebody who's trying to build. They are in the middle of building, and they've got to find out they got to decide when they're going to lock their loan. My brother-in-law, like I said, asked me that question the other day. They are thinking about buying a house, possible job transfer. And when that happens, people want to know, is now a good time? Guys, I'll say this a million times over. I'll say probably a couple million times over. There are reasons you have to move. And if you don't have to move, you've got to look at your finances, but you got to ask yourself, do you like the house and do you like the payment? Remember, those two things come back all the time. Right now, purchasing power of somebody making a couple $100,000 a year, not that that's the norm. I just threw this random situation up on the loan calculator earlier today or yesterday. Making a couple $100,000 a year and putting a certain amount down on the house, I think it was like $500,000. How much purchase power does that give you? And the purchase price of the home these days is 1.3. When the interest rate was at 3%, remember it got below 3%. That same person could have been buying a $1.8 million home with a $500,000 down payment. So super, super huge difference. The market is affecting us. But when someone asks, how's the market, they're usually asking about how bad is my payment going to be compared to the value of my home. And they want to know when they should do that. Tricky questions, but when it's all said and done, you find the right lender, I promise you, is going to be a huge help to you. Two lenders for you guys. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Tell me where you're coming from. My name is Brian Hymas, realtor up here in the Boise Valley, born and raised here, an appraiser for a few years. Now I've been selling homes for the last 7, I think, and absolutely love it. And I love getting on here and sharing with you guys. This will be fueled by you guys here in the that are joining me live. Looks like we have a few on YouTube and a few from other places as well. So please drop your questions in the chat if those come up. Would love to answer those. So let's see here. We do have some comments. Anthony, thanks for joining us. Boise's expensive. I don't think it's going to crash. I live in Idaho. There's a shortage. As soon as rates go down, prices will go higher. Yeah, I actually think that's a very good analysis, Anthony. Thank you for chiming in. Yeah, the shortage right now, I think there's people holding on to their money. I really do. I think people are sitting back, waiting for rates to do their thing. They've kind of plateaued right now. Gene, throw that stat up with it where the rates are right now. Allison Paulson, thanks for joining us. $6 in California. I was actually shocked to see it over. It's still over just a hair over $4 here in Boise. She'll throw, if you don't mind, if we don't have that, maybe we don't have that caption. There it is. Okay, so 7% rate. That's one. Local rates are just an eighth or a quarter below what we're seeing posted on the screen. But these are national rates. 7%. That's where it's kind of hovering right now. That's in that 6.5 to 7.25 range on a 30-year loan. We're not seeing it go down 3/4 of a point in a day. With the right lender, guys, I hope you guys know how important. I'd like to say I'm the most important piece in the puzzle, but one of my strengths is connecting you to other people, to other experts, to the right place, to the right city, to the right house, to the right neighborhood. I don't, and I think there's an art to it. I don't want to downplay what I do, and there's also a skill to selling a home and not being pushy, and just asking questions and letting people help themselves. But I don't want you to underestimate the power of a loan officer. I have seen many deals go south. I've had people cancel their contract the week of moving in because of the lender that didn't know what they were doing here in Idaho. I've had deals in where I had clients that moved up here. They actually saw me on YouTube, just like many of you do. They moved up here 2 years later. They decided to sell. They found a house. They used the realtor who was at the open house. They recommended they go to a lender. This lender took them for all they had and charged them like $15,000 to originate the loan. They called me and said, "Is this normal?" I said, "Hey, I'd love to help you, but I can't. You're kind of in contract with someone else." And anyway, they didn't feel right about it. So they got out of contract, contacted me again and said, "Hey, now what can we do about this?" I said, "Yeah, you were being taken advantage of." I don't have an answer for Siri doesn't have an answer for that either. They didn't have an answer. The person was taking advantage of them, and they said, "We made the cardinal sin." They're joking, of course. They went away from you, and now we're back. But they bought a house in where they wanted to be, and it was with a lender who didn't take advantage of them. A lender in this market, guys. There are lenders out there. The two I work with have 2 different programs. One will float your rate within 24 hours. If you lock it in, they'll float it down, and then anytime after you close the loan, they'll charge you $500 basically to do a appraisal free, like no appraisal, and the rate goes down. Just pay $500, and now you have a new. It's essentially like refinancing, because the company was getting tired of cannibalizing themselves by selling off the loan because they own the loan, and then they wouldn't sell it off. They would just essentially pay they'd have to pay the loan officer a lot of money, a lot of commission. So they just said, we'll just charge the end user a little bit of money, the person living in the house, and then they'll float down the rate to the current rate. So like if it's at 7%, it goes to $500 gets you at 4%. Does that make sense? The other thing another lender does is that they will, while you're in contract, if it's a quarter point or more, they get pinged automatically to email the loan provider, and they will lower your rate automatically for you. That's what happened in my case. And so I know when we bought, it was a little over a year ago, and we were still in the 4s. And so right now we're definitely, we're seeing a 2.5% bump on the interest rate. I mean, on $100,000, guys, that's $2,500. Divide that by 12 months. That's roughly $210 a month, just on a percentage point. And that's why your purchasing power goes so far down. Does that make sense? Any questions, guys, on the market? Any questions on the kind of the temperature? We're going to get into numbers and kind of geeky stuff of how many sold. I like to look at the solds a lot. Median days on the market, I don't like looking at a ton. You're going to see all the stats, but I want you guys to dive into those with me. I want to examine where we're at right now. And so with that, we're going to go to, Gene, let's go to the Ada County, the grid on Ada County. I've got what you're going to see. I've just got it printed out. I'm just going to look at these while she puts it on the screen. Perfect, Ada County. So I want you to look at that third line, all solds. So we go from August, 727 compared to, that's August 27. September's is not showing up there. It's actually 606. I'm glad this is perfect. You guys can see that. I'm going to tell you where we're at right now. We're at 606. So compare that to June 605 and August 727. Like, are we down? I don't think there's a huge argument to be made. We're down there. Median sold price 530, and actually September is 530 as well. So that's that. That's a good metric to pay attention to. Active listings were up. There is increased inventory right now. That's good. Remember, real estate is only supply and demand. What's the supply looking like compared to the demand? If there were 2 million houses in Boise right now, the price would just plummet. The builders would lose their shorts because they would have to be lowering the prices and they'd be fighting for business just to stay alive. Let's go to Eagle, and I don't know. Let's see if this is August or June or September on this chart. Let's go to Eagle. Eagle, we're looking at August to June. Not up there. Okay, perfect. August to June. And we're going sold 74 to 61. June. Okay, I just was going to ask Gene if that should say September. So that's 6. Even though it says June, not a problem, Gene. Don't even worry about it. It says August there in the left column, September 2023 in the right column. We're totally fine. So that is 74 to 61. That's a decrease. If I compare that to, let me compare that to June's. There were 67 sold in June. So again, we're right in there. You have to keep in mind the median home price in Eagle is going to be between 860 and about 950. That's really normal. If I pull up Eagles from June, that price is 865. And so the price is actually higher in Eagle. Why is that, guys? Because there's 61 solds. They're just a sampling. And don't get bent out of shape over that. When people ask me how the market is, we're actually in a healthy market. I've talked to agents and they are saying how this feels like they don't know what to do. They're touring houses just to preview them for their customers. Like, some people are like that because their clientele is there's just not that many locals. I have actually, the last 2 deals I've done are both cash deals. I have 5 deals in the pipeline right now that are cash as well. They're under contract, but they're not sold. And then I have 1 sold that in the last few months. That's a financed deal. That's how much cash right now is king. Is I am seeing people say interest rates are too high. We will not be moving with a loan. We will be using cash to do so. Right now, I feel like cash has been a predominant way to get into homes right now is by using cash. There is the Eagle numbers. Take those up while I was talking. Sold prices 449. It was the lowest, and 439. If we compare that to June, we got down to 415. Again, I wouldn't say that's not even a standard deviation away, to go back to high school stats class. I guess it was college stats class terms. Let's turn over to Meridian. I'm going to take a drink real quick. Perfect. Again, we're seeing a decrease. I would say that decrease, in fact, I think it's on every city we're going to look at. That's not on Boise. It's not a decrease in Boise. Nope. Sorry. Yeah, it's not a decrease in Boise. And other than that, and it's an increase in Middleton as well. But the sheer numbers of it is it's a decrease in solds. Median days on market, that number can be manipulated. Not a topic for today. I It's a good metric that people pay attention to. It's just that it's usually lower than what it really is, and without going into details, just usually that's higher. Pendings, there's a ton of pendings right now. If that sticks out to me right there in Meridian, telling me that within the next 4 weeks, we're gonna have a lot close. Next month should be a heavy, heavy hitter in terms of how hot the market is. People are gonna feel that. Sold's 196, but if we go to this is Meridian. If I go to Meridian, the sold, I already say this is 222. So right in there with August, and right in there with September. That's within 10%. It's probably, I bet you it's a standard deviation away. I don't know why I keep referring to that as if anyone talks like that. I don't even talk like that. So there you go. There's Meridian. Let's go to Star. Star, what do you have for us in terms of solds? I can tell you the number of solds in June was 46 for Star. Compare that to the third line there on the right. It's 60. And this is from essentially today for 30 days ago, and then August is the previous 30 days, just so you know. So we went from solds from 46 to 60, an increase there. We also did a decrease, from 76 to 60. So month to month, it was a decrease compared to a quarter ago. That was a significant increase. You can look at the lower price. The price there is 300,000. The highest home sale was 1.45. There was a $2.1 million home sale in Star a quarter ago, and there was a low price at 215. So when I go through these details, if I can have the camera back on me real quick again, Gene, if I go through these details, guys, I hope this is not like, I hope you're not looking at this thinking, oh, wow, this is a bunch of boring numbers. Brian, I will break these down for you. But I don't want you just getting lost in these numbers. I want you applying them to what's really going on in Boise. My opinion, now this is opinion. I don't have everything. I'll just say this. Everything I read says we are not going to be lowering rates come next time in a month from now, and nor will we be lowering rates in Q1 or Q2 of next year. In fact, expect to see an increase. Guys, I am not the wisest guy in the room, but I will say I have a very strong opinion about election years. And I'm not saying I know anything at all. I don't know this at all. I do know that election years are brought to bring news that will help the president, like him or hate him. Most people who follow me are conservative folks, so you might not like him. I don't love a lot of his policies. I also don't entrench myself in his policies every day, so I don't have a ton of, I couldn't have a long conversation about him for forever. But I do expect that election year to play and manipulate the market. If any of you guys are familiar with the media, that is the role of the media. In fact, if there's a book out there who that talks about the lying to the media, and it's called, well, I'll figure out what it's called, but Ryan Holiday. What is it called? Lie. I'm sorry, I'm searching it real quick. Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. All about how the market gets manipulated by people who, it used to be that the news was written by, we'd have a story come in and we do our own research. Now, what you're doing is you can actually put out PR releases and you can just influence the media. It's actually quite entertaining when you see where things are coming from. And so I do think that will enter the equation. I don't know if that's conspiracy theory. I don't know if that's just wacky Brian, but that is my true opinion. We'll see what happens. My brother-in-law who asked me about, I'll talk about him again, who asked me about the market. That's my number one thing about the market is I do think we're going to see a better spring, even though the professionals are saying no. The professionals have the reasons for saying what they do, and they're looking at numbers. They're looking at inflation. They're looking at jobs. They're looking at all sorts of stuff, and they have a lot of pressure on them. I'm not saying I know anything compared to them, but I do think I know the media maybe more than an economist. And that's what I do is play with this media all day. YouTube. It's how you found me is I am playing with the media, creating my own media, talking about Boise, telling you things the news channels don't, things like that. Cookie Lee, thanks for joining us. Question: is there negotiating power if purchasing with cash? Yes, Cookie Lee, 100%. And I touched on this, and I'll touch on it again because it's super important. Not because I'm not. Don't feel bad that I'm repeating. The last two deals, I put two deals under contract last week. Those deals are both cash deals, non-contingent cash deals. That's one thing. Other thing, I have 5 out of 6. I have 6 contracts pending right now, and out of those 6, that's not including those 2. Out of those 6, 5 are cash. I've never had it this way. I've never had it this way. It's actually kind of crazy how stacked with the cash it is right now because people do not want to finance at 7%. That's where the price is right now. Is just a hair, quarter or an eighth of a percent under 7%. That's kind of insane. I mean, quite literally, the market's dipped a little bit in listing price. In fact, we will. I wish we could have. Let's do 2 more, Gene, on those numbers. Let's go to Boise and Middleton. I'm just talking to Gene. I want you guys to give a silent round of applause for Gene. She makes this look good. I talk to her as if you guys see her, but she manages this thing from her office. When I say, Gene, can you put this up, put that up? We're gonna go to Boise, and after that, Gene, we're gonna go to the graphs that show the lines. So Boise's, if you guys look at that, Boise in June had 314 sales, so it was healthier in June. It says June on your screen. That's September 2023. We're hovering around those numbers. Oh, look at that magic! It just changed as we were talking about it. It was like it read our mind. Low, the median sold price 510. That's the same exact price it was in June. Was 5? Nope, sorry. The price was 527, about 528, and then we had a 2.15. And we had a 2.7 essentially in very close to the August price. It was 2.678. And then the lowest price per square foot was 155 a square foot. Those things can change. The lowest end, that's not a good metric to go off of. Let me grab some water. All right. Any more questions, guys? Bring them out. Tell me where you're walking from. Tell me where you're watching from. Love to hear it. I see we have a couple Californians. I see we have a local. Anthony Steen, I'd love to know where you are watching from in Idaho. But I want to hear all that. Middleton. Let's go to Middleton. I'll tell you how many sold there were in Middleton in June. That was 49. If we compare that 49 to today, we're in the mid-30s. Again, that should say September. If it doesn't, it looks like it does. So mid-30s. We're down a little bit in that sold mark, but we're not. It's not terrible. I do think the market is pretty steady. Let's go to those graphs. Let's pull up. Do you have Ada County graph, Gene? That's the Ada County graph. If you don't have Ada County, is this Ada County? Okay, perfect. So one thing that you can, no Ada County. Which one is this, Gene? Sorry, this is Eagle. Okay, perfect. This is Eagle. So Eagle is, if you look at that right side, see how it peaks and it flattens out? That flatten out, depending on your market sector, is going to tell you how it's been. But if you take the whole market of Eagle, luxury and below median price, it's pretty flat. So if you go from April, and then it goes to June, see how it kind of just goes a slight bump up to June, and then it goes down below that line, then we're up basically at that line or above that line again. That is very, in my opinion, that's very good to see. You can see pre-COVID, we went from 500K to $1 million for the median list price in Eagle. I mean, everything just doubled. All the stats say it went up like 17%. I mean, baloney. Here's your proof. The proof is in a graph that who knows where it's from. And actually, it's from, I think this research is done by Athlos, if I'm not mistaken, a well-respected real estate research firm. Let's go next to its neighboring city to the south. That is Meridian. Meridian is right here. Take a look at the graph. This one is a little bit more up and down. If you go from April, again, there's a peak a little bit after that April mark. That might be May, and then it goes down. Looks like a bad time to list your price was in December, and we're now at a bump up there in May or June of this year, and then a slight tick down. Looks like we're about $600 for median list price in the Meridian area. Let's go to the city to the west of Eagle is Star. Perfect. We have Star here, and Star, you see, Star is a little bit different. Star's down. Now, I don't think that's too much of a good indicator of what Star is feeling. I don't feel like the cities feel different from if you go from one to the other. However, when you see a down market, what's the right thing to do? I don't see it in the answers, but it's buy. Now you buy when it's low, you sell when it's high. This is a good time to buy in Star. I think Middleton is the same thing. I would say Middleton is an up and coming city. It's where we live. We moved here from Eagle. Literally sold, I think, one of the best times we could have sold. Being in the market, I feel like we in the market every day. I feel like we did time that halfway good. Can we get Middleton up here, Gene? Again, we are down. If you go from April 2022, it spiked again. It all spiked because there was a rush and people realized can't do that anymore, and they came down. So we went from 700 down to 600. That's where we're at. So, but right now I'm feeling steady. The stats say steady. I'm feeling steady. That's where I feel like my barometer. You can get this off here, Gene. Come back to me. My barometer on things is that we are steady. And I actually see and I don't just say this because I get paid to say this, because I do get paid. If I say there's good news coming, I literally get rewarded for saying that. So you have to take my opinion with a grain of salt. The experts who study this more than me, who are in it more than me, say we're not going to see a healthy Q2. After Q1, we might see some pinching. We might see some increase in rates. I don't know how that could happen. The one thing I could see that happening for is if they just say, nope, I don't care if it's election year, we're doing it anyway. But I highly believe in my own theories. I'm a confident dude. I do think that we're going to see an election year that affects the mortgage rates. Any questions, guys? You put them in the chat. So you tell me where you're from. Would love to hear it. Give you shout outs. There's a few of you coming from. Let's see where everyone's coming from now. It looks like the bulk of everyone who's on here is on. A lot of you guys are on from YouTube, and the others are trickling in. But if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Let me see if I have anything else to go over in my notes. Thanks for adding that comment there. And I don't know if you guys knew this, you Californians. You guys, Chuck joined us from Washington. Chuck, tell me. I would love to know, Chuck. What is your take on how much do you watch the rates and wonder how the market is every day? If it's not Chuck, I'd love to know Allison's or Cookie's or Anthony's to take on this. Is how much are you guys watching the market and trying to figure out that answer to the question, how is the market? I think it's an important question to go to investigate. I just personally think when all is said and done, you have to like the price of you have to like the monthly payment of your house in order to live there, and you have to like the house. I know that's so simple. I know that's super simple, but like I said, if you have a house where you have a 50-year loan, let's say a 100-year loan on a $2 million home, you now are able to easily afford. You watch it most days. I'd love to hear your take on it. You can easily afford. Let's say you did a 200-year loan on a $500 million. You'd probably be able to afford a lot more than you could if that was a 30-year loan, right? And so, terrible example. But the point is, if you had $1 billion house and you said, I'll pay that back over a billion in 10 billion years, you could go buy the nicest house out there and pay your $3 a month to live there, and you would eventually pay it back, right? So, exaggerated example, showing the point of if you have you would never have to get kicked out of that house, ever. And then you also not only do not have to get kicked out of the house, but you like the house, because two questions are, do you like the house and can you afford it? If you are tuning in, guys. There is no greater compliment that I receive than from you guys when you guys tune in. My number is 208-213-2092. I absolutely love helping people move to Boise. There is a system I have that I follow that keeps us all honest. It doesn't waste your time. It doesn't allow you to miss out on any homes. It doesn't allow you to overpay on homes. This system is tried and true. It doesn't let you buy a lemon. This system really is, you will see, it just gets you focused. People come to town, like, how much time do I need? After we're going to do a Zoom call together, and we're going to meet for 20 minutes before you go out at the office, and then we'll be off. We will make, with those two things, I can make your process simple and easy so that you are not stressed and bogged down with the details. Just hold my hand. We'll go through this. This system is tried and true. It is the Buying in Boise Blueprint, and if you need that, let's get in touch. Call me 208-213-2092, Brian@brianharvest.com, and we will get you set up on the first step, which is the Zoom call. So we'll email or chat or text or email first, but after that, it is time for the Zoom call. Ben says he's here in California trying to get in Idaho. These rates are killing me though. Yeah, and I think that's what we're seeing is I have those cash buyers. There's a lot of them, 7 out of 8. And most people are like Ben though, even though that's what's under contract here, most people are like Ben in that they are waiting for the interest rates to come down to hopefully sub 6. And then, where are you wanting it, Ben? Obviously you want it 0, but really, if it was a 5 3/4 today, Ben, would you buy? My bet is that I bet he would. I bet you people, and that's really not too far away compared to the future, or excuse me, compared to the past. If we got down to 5.75, I bet you we'd be cooking with gas. Most expensive market ever. Rates plus cost. Recession equals more inventory. Rates will stay high. I like it, Chuck. One thing I would say about the most expensive market ever is we have the golden economy of all the ages right now. And we went from COVID prices to spike to down and steady, and we still have great money to purchase these things. We have equity in our homes. I don't know if I'd argue. I would just say there are people who this isn't the most expensive market for them if they owned a home. First-time home buyers, good luck. It's not the easiest thing, but there are programs for you. There are programs for you that allow you to get into a home with next to nothing to get down. So do not think you have to get a 20% down in order for you to get a home. Jasmine from North Dallas, that is where I have some family. I have some family in Frisco. Let me know where you're coming from in North Dallas. Love that. If you have any other questions, please put them in the chat there, and we will get to those. But market, if you're coming in late, cash is king right now. Rates are causing people like Ben to sit on the sidelines and wait. But what we want is stability. And if people are fine, if they find a house and they're fine with the payment, they will buy. Originally from the Bay Area, California. There you go. They will buy. They're not going to sit on the sidelines forever. Then I'm guessing if you didn't feel like the rates were going in where you'd finally be like, fine, I guess I got to just bite the bullet. I'm going to do it. A lot of these videos show empty houses. Cookie, I'm not sure which empty houses. I do see empty houses when it's new construction, but I don't see empty houses in terms of abandoned houses. And I'm not sure what you're seeing that I'm not, but I'm not seeing empty houses. I am definitely seeing living houses. I've seen one empty house. I saw a bank owned property this past week. My customer wants me to check on it for him, and that one was empty. I've also had houses that are empty when I go show homes, right? But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I've seen any empty houses. Cookie, let's show your thing here. Cookie asks, have you seen buyer's remorse from the height of the market? I personally have not. I have seen buyer's remorse from someone who bought at the height of the market. They paid too much. But then I have seen that person get a divorce. And I think that life changes have had more of an effect. Like, that person didn't regret having a house. In fact, they're renting it out for more than their mortgage is. And so it's totally fine. but I have seen people whose life choices or life decisions or life events, that's probably the best word is life events. I've seen those people get a little um, frustrated more with their life event than they are the market. The market is uncontrollable, guys. If you're going to play in the market, it's not your control. You're definitely playing outside of it. YouTube videos show empty closets. Okay, I'm not familiar. If it's a vacant home, I know that sometimes there are people who have moved out. Maybe it's another YouTuber who's going through a house and doing a tour. And I know there's some guys out there that are doing that right now, doing homes and tours and homes. And maybe it is that they're are already moved out, because that can happen. But if you're seeing that in every home, I'd be interested to see what that really means. Guys, you guys kept it fun and interesting. I love it. The questions are coming. If you have any more questions, keep this coming in. If not, we're going to wrap up. I don't have anywhere particular to go, but I also don't want to sit and stare at a straight screen with you. Your view is not as good as mine. I don't have to look at my mug there every day, all night here. But whatever you guys have for me, put it in the chat. If not, we're going to recess until 3 months from now, which will be in the middle of December, when we will be all enjoying the wonderful Christmas spirit. And that would be the next update. And what we're going to do is do the same thing. We're going to compare prices and solds, because that's super important. I don't want you guys feeling the market going down. I don't want you guys feeling fear. I don't want anyone feeling fear. Fear doesn't come from a good place. It comes from a point of negativity. And in my opinion, fear creates a undesirable outcome. And I'm not just saying this, and I'm not just trying to push a good product or a good market out to you. I truly believe that we're in a good market and that we're going to see good market. And especially now, I do see that the what's the word? I do see that now is a good time to buy. Even though I could have an argument with Chuck on that, I think Chuck probably reads more than I do. Chuck seems like he's into it. But I do think this is a great time to buy because of prices are down. And they did that to make up for the monthly payments. I do think prices are down, generally speaking. There are some places that aren't. But I do think that this is now is a great time to buy. And that's the question we always ask ourselves. If you are fine with today's market, then today is a good time to buy. If you're like, man, I could sell my house now or in the spring, I'm not sure what to do yet. Now is a good time. Yes, historically speaking, May is better. But what if it's not? And you like now's market? Now is a good time. But what about that one time if I liked the market in June of COVID year, and then post COVID, I would have had a lot more money? True. How many times has that happened? How can you predict that? You can't predict any of that. So don't count on that math or that prediction to make it happen again. Buy your house, sit on it, buy your rental, sit on it, and then sell after the COVID years. That's what I say. Guys, thanks for joining me. It has been fun. Thanks for making it fun by adding the questions, telling us where you're coming from, adding the questions, listening to me talk about the market and today's stats, the Boise real estate market. This is yours truly. I am out, and we will see you guys next time after you subscribe, of course, because you don't want to miss out. So go subscribe.